Maya stood at table 7 with a tray balanced on her hand, the warm scent of garlic bread and creamy Alfredo pasta wafting from the plates she carried. The candlelight flickered against the polished wood of the upscale restaurant, and her uniform black slacks, white button-up shirt, and a clean apron did little to hide the exhaustion written on her face. She smiled through it all, though, like she always did, because this job, this humble waitressing gig, was her ticket to something greater. She worked double shifts at Lorenzo's every weekend, pouring coffee with a kind word and carrying dirty plates with grace. She wasn't ashamed of it. In fact, she was proud. Maya was saving up for culinary school, dreaming of owning her own bistro one day, tucked in a quiet street where locals gathered and tourists stumbled upon magic. But that night, as she leaned forward to serve wine to the elegantly dressed couple, at table 7, she caught a glimpse of a face she knew all too well. Her heart jolted. It was Ryan, her fiancé. Dressed in a navy blue designer suit, the watch on his wrist easily worth more than her month's wages. And seated across from him, laughing with her head tossed back, was Candace, a tall, blonde marketing exec who once tried to poach Ryan at a networking event. Maya froze for a second too long, her composure flickering, but she quickly set down the last plate and turned to walk away. "Wait a second," Ryan's voice rang out across the restaurant. Maya turned back slowly, praying silently that he would just let her go. But he smirked, his confidence radiating. "Isn't this Maya? My fiancé?" His voice was loud enough that several heads turned. The clatter of cutlery paused for a beat. Candace raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "You didn't tell." "Me, your girl, was working here," she said, lifting a wine glass to her lips. Ryan shrugged. "Well, you know, she likes playing waitress. Hasn't grown out of her working-class fantasies yet." The words sliced through Maya like broken glass. Her cheeks flushed crimson, a mix of humiliation and disbelief. She had known Ryan could be arrogant. His father was a real estate mogul. After all, but she never imagined he would mock her in public like this. Not after everything. Not after she supported him when he failed his bar exam twice. Not after she loaned him money for his startup. Not after she believed in him when everyone else had written him off. "Ryan," she said softly, trying to keep her voice steady. "Can we please not do this here?" But Ryan just laughed, as if her request were absurd. "Why not? Everyone should know the truth. I mean, I'm the only guy at my firm dating a waitress. Isn't that adorable?" His voice dripped sarcasm. The restaurant manager, Mr. Lorenzo himself, had stepped out from the kitchen and was watching from the corner with a growing frown. Maya stood still for a moment. She could feel every eye in the room on her. Pity, embarrassment, some laughed. Quietly, others just whispered. Her hand trembled. But she refused to cry. Not here, not for him. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice tight. "I need to get back to work." She turned and walked away, holding her head high. She spent the rest of the evening barely breathing. When her shift ended at midnight, she walked home instead of taking the bus, the night air cool against her burning skin. Her phone buzzed with a message from Ryan. "You overreacted? I was just joking. Learn to take a joke." She stared at the screen for a long time, then powered it off. The next day, Maya didn't go to work. She called in sick, but really, her heart was shattered. For days, she didn't respond to Ryan's calls. When she finally did, it was to return his engagement ring. No explanation. No goodbye. Just a clean break. She spent the next weeks in a haze, questioning herself, her worth, and her dreams. She was just a waitress after all, wasn't she? But then, one evening, her phone rang. Maya, was Mr. Lorenzo. "Maya, I need to see you," he said. "Come to the restaurant." She hesitated, then agreed. When she arrived, he was waiting in his office with 2 men in suits. "These gentlemen are investors," he said. "I told them about you." Maya blinked. "About me?" Lorenzo nodded. "About your cooking, your ideas, the way you handle customers. They're interested in a new venture, small bistro downtown, and I told them I knew just the person to lead it." Maya couldn't believe it. It felt surreal. She stammered through the conversation, heart pounding, as the investors explained their vision, a locally sourced, affordably classy cafe. They had funding, they just needed passion. And Lorenzo had seen hers for years. "You'll be the creative lead," Lorenzo said. "I'll mentor you through the business side. What do you say?" Tears welled in Maya's eyes. She nodded, unable to speak. That night, she stayed up drafting menu ideas, the hurt from Ryan slowly morphing into fuel. "I'm off for the next few months." The bistro came to life. Brick walls, rustic wood tables, warm lighting. Maya poured her soul into it. On opening night, the line was out the door. Bloggers showed up. Foodies raved. One dish in particular, a creamy truffle risotto, became an overnight sensation. Her photo appeared in magazines. Her, the waitress who became a wonder chef, one headline read. Maya smiled through each interview, though she never mentioned Ryan. Not once, but he heard. Oh, he heard. Because one day he showed up, clean-shaven, regret etched into every line on his face. He stood at the front counter holding a bouquet. "Maya," he said, when she finally came out to greet him. I saw the articles. I'm proud of you." Maya tilted her head, arms folded. "Are you?" Ryan swallowed. "I was a jerk. I shouldn't have said those things." "I didn't mean them." She raised an eyebrow. "Didn't you?" He stammered. "I was ... insecure, embarrassed, I guess. My career was going nowhere. You were doing everything on your own. I felt like a failure and I lashed out." Maya nodded slowly. "Now that I'm a success, you want to be part of the story again?" Silence. He looked down. "No," he finally said. "I just wanted to say sorry, that's all." She looked at him for a long moment, then said, "Apology accepted." But that chapter's closed. She turned and walked back into her kitchen, apron tied, sleeves rolled up, as the scent of garlic and basil filled the air. And for the first time in a long while, she felt light, whole, empowered. She was no longer just a waitress. She was Maya, the woman who rose from mockery to mathify. The months that followed saw Maya's world transform into something she had only dared to dream of during long shifts and late-night walks home. Sage and Hearth, her cozy, rustic bistro tucked in the heart of the city, was no longer just a restaurant. It had become a story. People didn't come just to eat. They came to witness the journey of the girl who was once mocked for carrying trays, now directing chefs and curating menus that had food critics reaching for poetic metaphors. The early challenges were immense: staffing, suppliers, rent negotiations, but Maya met every obstacle with quiet determination. The echoes of her past humiliation fueling her resolve. She often worked 18-hour days, her hands blistered from chopping and her eyes heavy from late-night bookkeeping, but not once did she complain. This wasn't a job anymore. This was her purpose. The restaurant's signature wall, a collage of handwritten customer thank you notes, grew more vibrant each week. People wrote about how Maya's journey inspired them to chase their own dreams. Single mothers, college dropouts, former convicts looking for redemption, her story resonated far beyond the walls of the bistro. She had unknowingly become a symbol for those who had been overlooked, underestimated, or mocked for simply working hard in silence. One evening, while wiping down the bar after a record-breaking dinner service, Maya was approached by a sharply dressed older woman. Her silver hair was pulled back in a flawless bun, and her eyes were curious, intelligent. "You're Maya?" she asked. "Yes," Maya said, offering a tired but genuine smile. The woman extended her hand. "Clara Bennett. I'm the executive producer for a new documentary series, The Rise. We're profiling 10 women across the country who went from nothing to something by sheer will. Your name has come up more than once." Maya blinked. Clara nodded. "We'd like to tell your story, not just your restaurant, but you. Where you came from, what you endured, who you became." Maya hesitated for a second, then slowly nodded. "Okay, let's do it." Filming began the next week. Cameras captured her morning prep routines, the late-night cleaning, the impromptu hugs from customers who told her how she'd changed their lives. But they also captured her silence, the quiet moments where she looked out the window, remembering how low she had once been. The pain hadn't disappeared, but it no longer defined her. It had become a stepping stone. When the documentary aired, it exploded online. Maya's face became synonymous with resilience. She was invited to speak at universities and culinary schools, sharing not recipes, but grit. Young girls sent her letters from across the country telling her they now believed in themselves. Her Instagram following grew to millions overnight, not because she chased fame, but because she represented something people were starving for: authenticity. Not long after, she received a letter. Not an email or a DM, but an actual handwritten letter. The envelope had the embossed seal of the prestigious Fontaine Culinary Institute in Paris. It was a scholarship, full ride. They had seen her work, watched the documentary, tasted her recipes through their U.S. ambassador, who visited her bistro secretly weeks before. They wanted her to come to Paris, train, learn, and then return to shape the future.